What up? What's up, people? I'm here again. Today, I know I probably should have did this video when it was coming out, but I'll just do it now. Something kind of my late. Well, it's not. I mean, I guess it's not that big a deal because today it's coming out on DVD. Okay, I'm talking about what it is. I'm gonna be listing my problems with Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I mean, I guess it's fine doing it today because it's coming out on DVD. It's released on DVD today, so. So I just wanted to give my opinions. Like I said in my review, I enjoyed it for what it was, but there was a little bit of things that kind of annoyed me. Like, okay, let me just give what I liked about it first. I liked visually it was awesome, and it was probably the best visual Star Wars movie. It had really good effects, special effects were good, and all that. Acting was good. It's probably the best acted Star Wars movie. I'll give it that. I think acting-wise it was probably the best acting. Even the originals, the acting was never the best. But, to me, that's all I gotta say about the good. Oh, and I liked how they did the Stormtroopers. The Stormtroopers were actually pretty cool in this film. They actually felt like a viable threat. They weren't just guys you always miss shots. They're actually killing shit, and they destroyed a village, which was pretty evil. But, okay. Now, on to the bad. My first issue, they made Han a smuggler again. Why? Like, some people were saying, oh, it's to give his character depth, which he already had. You know, he goes from being a smuggler in the first movie, in episode 4, and then in 5, he becomes, he's kind of mixed. Like, he wants to do the rebel thing because he likes Leia, but at the same time, he kind of wants to leave. And then he finally joins and he becomes a hero. And then in 6, that's what happens. Like, he's a hero. Like, after all this, and then he kind of regresses to being a smuggler 30 years later. It made no sense to me. It's like, why? Why can't he just be like a general in the Resistance? You know, because his wife Leia is. Which is another thing. I really didn't like that that Han and Leia scenes were just awkward. It's just like, when they were on screen together in this movie, it was just very awkward. Yeah, it just felt kind of awkward when they were on screen together. It's like, I don't know, it just didn't seem like they clicked. And then their scenes were just kind of like short. It's like they haven't seen each other in so long, and they're only on screen for like 10 minutes. It's like, and then he has to go. It's like, I don't know. 3, I didn't like the way they did Finn. I would have because Finn in the movie, the guy who plays him, John Boyega, is actually British. I would have preferred they just give him his British accent. Why not? That actually would have been something different, but instead, he's a stereotypical Kevin Hart type black guy. It's like, especially that scene when he caught Phasma, and he's all like, "What, Phasma, huh?" And I was cringing so much during that. It's like, that's definitely one of the reasons. I would have honestly preferred him to be British. That would have been something different. I also didn't like that he was kind of a pussy. And the whole janitor thing was stupid. Why couldn't he just be a guy that was training since birth to be a stormtrooper? And then he eventually realizes, and then, it's like, and then in the end, yeah, he does end up mustering the courage to fight Kylo, but why couldn't he have just been some badass stormtrooper that knew how to fight, that, was trained, and it's like, almost, he decided to run, and it's just, I really didn't like that. It's just, it would have been better if he was just some guy who was trained, and he shouldn't have been a comedian. They made his character too comedy. I'm just like, he shouldn't be the comedy relief character. Let BB-8 be the comedy relief. I'd actually prefer Finn to be a serious character. He's a stormtrooper. He should not be a comedy act. Just saying. Pretty much next, one thing I really didn't like, I thought Finn's transition was not done well. It's like, in the beginning of the movie, he sees one of his fellow stormtroopers get killed. And then, hour later, he's just killing his brother with, like, no problem. And it's like, why isn't he having, like, what I would have done? I would have made his transition a little bit more believable. I would have also liked to have seen him, maybe him during, training with the First Order. I would have liked to have seen him in the First Order environment. He really didn't get a look at. I would have liked to have seen his life as a stormtrooper. I would have liked to have seen him interact with other stormtroopers. I would have liked to see him training or something. I really didn't like that, he just escapes like 30 minutes in, let's go. He saves Poe and escapes. You don't really get I would have liked to have a look to see how his transition should have been a little bit more natural. And also, I really think he should have had a little bit of trouble killing his other former stormtrooper brethren. I really didn't like that he, it's like these guys were guys he was training with, since birth. But he could just kill him with no problem, even though he was holding one of his former brethren when they died in the beginning. It's like, that's not natural. It's just kind of unbelievable. I didn't like that they kind of just copied a lot of New Hope. And I know this is cliche, but come on. It really was. And it's like, there are going to be those people who say, well, it's a little bit similar. No. Oh, you know what? I'll show you a little similar. Jurassic World to Jurassic Park. Yeah, it's a little similar because it's on the same island, and it's another park. But it still felt different. This, to me, literally was almost a shot for shot, especially in a couple of scenes. Like, when Poe is giving BB-8 the secret information, I'm like, oh my god, this is like Leia giving R2 the thing. Then R2 is roaming around in the desert, and then gets discovered by someone who lives there. It's like, come on. It's like, and they were stormtroopers looking for droids. Like, come on. You really could not do something a little bit different? It's like 30 years later and we're doing the same thing. It's just... Oh, that's another one. I really didn't like that this movie had no backstory. They don't explain what's been going on for the past 30 years, They don't explain how long the Resistance has been around, how long the First Order's been around. There should have been some explanation. And it's, what some people will say. Some people will be like, well, the movie shouldn't have to explain everything. Okay, I agree. I'm not saying everything needs to be explained. But the backstory, I'm sorry. I need some context to this universe, and there was none. It's like you couldn't just, I don't know, in the opening crawl, talk about a little bit of the backstory. I wanted a backstory. And a lot, it's just, that it got annoying. It's like, I need some backstory. Also didn't like that a lot of people will say, well, the defense for this movie is, they'll explain it in the next movie. It's like, I understand it's a saga and everything doesn't need to be explained, but like, come on. It's like, come on. I personally think that's just to me, that's just a lazy argument. I'm sorry. It's just lazy. When you look at many movies that were trilogies, each movie still felt like its own movie. It felt like it explained things, and it didn't just put off, oh, we'll just explain it later. That's just, to me, that's just lazy, and it's just a lazy way to do things. That's just my opinion there. And all of this is just my opinion, What else did I like? I also didn't like, Phasma was a waste. She didn't need to be in this movie. Like, if you cut her from this movie, you wouldn't have noticed. She was there to sell toys. And it was pretty obvious, too, when you have a silver stormtrooper chick that doesn't do anything. And then, of course, some people are going to be like, she'll come back later in the movie. She'll come back again and she'll do stuff. It's like, first impressions, They could have had her do something. Like, she gets captured. That's kind of what I'm going to segue into that scene. When she gets captured by Chewie, Han, and Finn, why doesn't she just call like a silent alarm or something? Should all the rooms should have a silent alarm? You know, why doesn't she just use a silent alarm to call other troopers in the room? She just turns down the shield, which was fucking stupid. And it's like she's a high-ranking official in the First Order, and she can't even turn down, and she just willingly turns off the shields? Really? That made no sense whatsoever to me. But whatever. This is one man's opinion, you know. I didn't like the Death Star 3. I'm sorry, that was a terrible idea. I'm not against them doing another super weapon, but I would have liked some build up to it. It's like, oh, you learn the First Order. Oh, they have a Death Star. And I know it's called Star Killer Base, but I'm calling it the Death Star 3 because it is the Death Star 3, but just as a planet. It's just a planet version of a Death Star. That's all it is. It's just a bigger Death Star. And it's like, really? And it had the similar weakness to the first Death Star. And realistically, why would the Resistance even use the First Order? Realistically, why would they make a Death Star? Shouldn't they learn from the Empire's past mistakes? When you know the Death Star has... You learn that the Death Star failed twice. It failed twice. Why would they do it again? I don't understand that. Like, why would they build it again when the Empire, it's failed twice? I mean, if you were gonna do it, I would have been fine if they made it, like, if they would have built up to it. Maybe Episode 8, you learn that they're building a super weapon, but you don't know what it is yet. And then Episode 9, they finally built it. You could have had some build up to it, and it would have been much more meaningful than just shoehorning it in because it's Episode 4. Also, I really feel like that was my other thing, the Resistance should have not have been as big as they were. It's like in a span of 30 years of the Empire, after the Empire gets defeated, they're almost as big as the Empire. Like, they're able to build another Death Star. How? It's like, they realistically should have been smaller. I would have preferred if they were like a smaller military organization. Something like ISIS. You know, a small little terrorist organization. I'm not saying they should be super, super small. And maybe in the sequels, they grow bigger. They grow bigger over the next few films. And then by Episode 9, maybe they're as big as they were in this film. I would have preferred that than them just already being big. It's like, where do they go now? They lost. Their planet got destroyed. So what, are they gonna build another one? Another thing, Maz having the lightsaber, Luke's lightsaber, that made no sense. What I would have done, instead of Maz, I would have low-key did Lando. Because Lando having the lightsaber would have made a lot more sense. And speaking of which, they didn't even mention him in this film. It's like he's not even acknowledged in this film at all. I would have preferred if it was Lando, because at least him having the lightsaber would make more sense than Maz. Where the fuck does she get it? See, that's another plot hole. That's another thing. This movie has a lot of plot holes. Things just kind of conveniently happen without explanation, just cause. Like the Millennium Falcon just happened to be in the scrapyard. Like, really? How does Han not have his ship? I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but I'm gonna just stay on this. It's just, there's a lot of plot holes, and it's just, like, Poe wanting, like, after Finn saved him, Poe had to go back to to Jakku, because he wanted to get BB-8, but then he escapes, and then leaves. How? What is he crashes and then just somehow is able to find a ship and then leave, even though he wanted to look for BB-8 in the first place. And BB-8 has some information in it. Why would it be, Poe just let that be? Jeez. Just thinking about it just makes no sense to me. Another thing, I really didn't like that the way Han and Chewie were just kind of brought in the movie was kind of done terribly. Why couldn't maybe Poe meets up with Finn, like Finn and Poe? Hold on. Anyway, sorry about that. I would have preferred if, maybe Han, like when Finn and Poe crash, Finn standing over finds Poe, knocked out. So maybe Finn carries Poe, and then when they get to the main area where Finn met Rey, BB-8 notices Finn carrying Poe, and then maybe Rey lets Finn and Poe stay at her the Walker house she was living in. And there could have been a legitimate more character building there. Maybe we could learn more about Rey and Finn. Because that was another thing. We should have been on Jakku a lot longer. I really didn't like that. We were only in Jakku we weren't even on Jakku that long. It wasn't a lot. This is they kind of rushed, like, Finn meeting Rey. I would have, really liked learning about Finn during his years in the First Order. I would have liked to have seen what he's doing during that. I would have loved to have seen that, but no. Now on to, I don't want to go on too long, but it's just Han's death. Let me give an example what my problem with Han's death was. I really didn't like the way it was done. Han just kind of dies. I mean, because for me, as soon as he stepped on the bridge, I called it. I'm like, and I'll use an example of this, since, like, when you look at BVS and you know how Superman quote unquote dies in the end, and I know some people are like, well, he's coming back, right? Which I understand, and that's not the point I'm trying to make. Is it got emotion out of me when he died, because I didn't know that was gonna happen. I didn't know he was gonna quote unquote die, even though I know he's coming back. But that actually got emotion out of me. When Han dies, I really didn't feel a thing. I honestly had more emotion when Han got frozen in carbonite in Empire Strikes Back than when he died. I'm sorry. It's just his death, and he just kind of falls in that little cavern, and that's it. There's no tribute, no nothing. I would have preferred the movie just to end with a tribute from everybody, like a little bit of, they talk about how good of a person Han was and how much of a hero he was. Like they did that in Batman vs Superman. They made like a big tribute for Superman. He actually had a big coffin, he had all that, and like big funeral, and it was done beautifully. It's like, why couldn't they do that here? Just Han kind of just dies. That annoyed the hell out of me. And it's just, also, okay. And then, yeah, this annoyed me too. When Han, when everybody got back to the Resistance base after, why did Leia go hug Rey over Chewie? That made no fucking sense to me whatsoever. This is literally the first time Leia meets Rey, and she goes hugs her, but doesn't hug Chewie. Han mattered to both of them. Han was Chewie's best friend. Han was Leia's husband. Why doesn't she has literally almost no reaction? She just kind of holds her chest and that's it. She hugs Rey, but not Chewie. That made no sense. It just, I, I'm sorry. That kind of annoyed me. Not kind of, really did annoy me. Just, they could have treated Han's death a lot better. I think for me, they shoehorned Luke in this movie. I would have I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't even had Luke in this movie. What I would have done, I honestly would have just, maybe have Luke just come in the next one. Maybe you just end the movie with the Han tribute. That's what I would have done. I personally, even though I'm gonna be honest, I still don't think they should have killed off Han. I feel like it was too soon. But I feel like if you're gonna kill him off, I would have preferred if he died like a man and died like in a blaze of glory, not just kind of dies. Like Superman didn't just die; he sacrificed. He made the ultimate sacrifice. I feel like Han should have died something similar to that. You know, just the way he died, he just kind of died like a bitch. And it just, yeah, he just kind of died like a bitch. It's just, but moving on. Yeah, but going back to Luke, I felt like Luke was kind of shoehorned in this movie. It's just like he stood there and just, I didn't like the cliffhanger ending. I'm sorry. Star Wars to me has never ended with a cliffhanger. That's not what Star Wars is supposed to end like. I mean, if anything, I would have been fine if Luke wasn't in this movie, to be honest. Because it's just like, he really wasn't until the end, anyway. Okay, now I didn't really like the way they treated the Force in this movie. It kind of fucked up the mythos, because it's been established, you have to train to use the Force. You can be Force sensitive, but it isn't, like, the way they treated the Force in this movie is pretty much magic. It just makes you super beast, which is not true. It's been established in every other movie that you have to learn the Force. You have to train to harness and master the Force. This is gonna pretty much get to my problems with Rey. And I guess I can get into that. I'll talk about this point for a little bit. It's just, the Force isn't just something you get. It's not magic. You need to, like, if the Force is magic, then Leia, she's Force sensitive. She would be a Force god. But that's not the case. It doesn't make you some beast fighter. It doesn't take a day to learn the Force either. That annoyed me. It took Rey about like 30 minutes to master the Force. That's not how the Force works. The Force isn't just something you get. It's something you have to master. It takes years to really master the Force. But now let me just segue into Rey. I mean, Daisy Ridley did awesome acting-wise for Rey, and I think she did good with what she had. But Rey, to me, was written terribly. She's insanely good at everything. I'm okay with her knowing how to fix stuff, okay? I can maybe even understand her talking to droids. But she could talk to a Wookiee. How does she understand what Chewie's saying when there's no Wookiees in Jakku? Like, literally. How does she know how to talk to a Wookiee? There's no Wookiees in Jakku. She can fly a ship. Okay, maybe I'll even get over that. But she knows how to fix the Millennium Falcon more than Han. That annoyed me. Like, she literally knows how to fix... Like, she knows more about the ship than Han. Are you fucking kidding me? No, that's so not believable. And it's just... She's insane. The Force stuff really drew me over the edge. Like, I can overlook everything else, but the Force stuff. And the thing is, on its own, I don't have a problem with her having the Force. I really don't. But there's a way to do it better. She beats the villain. That was my first problem. I really don't believe she should have beaten Kylo Ren, which I'll get to Kylo Ren in a second. But I still don't believe Kylo Ren should have lost that fight. That's just my humble opinion. But getting back to Rey, I also felt like they made her outshine every other character. It's like, there's no point to the other characters. It's like, they made Rey so good to the point, like, every other character just doesn't matter. It's like, come on. And it's like, I'll use Deadpool for an example. Deadpool, pretty much, this movie was a majority about him, and he was the main character. But all the other characters still felt like they mattered, you know? They still felt like they mattered. They didn't just... That's why, like, I felt like Finn was downplayed, so was every other character, just to make Rey look good. Like, she's majority was like a god compared to everyone else. And it's like, that's not how I want a character. And I'm not even going to be that guy who uses feminism. I'm not even going to call out the SJW aspect about it, because I'm not going to go that angle, because a lot of people already did. So I'm not going to go that angle. Though I'm not going to deny it that something has something to do with it, but I'll just keep it there. It's like, there's a way to do a female character. It's just like, I felt like she was handed everything. She didn't realistically earn anything. She's just good at everything. And in some people's argument, oh, she was raised by herself. Oh, okay. Does that mean she's just instantly good with the Force? I'm sorry, I just thought that was done terribly. Like, and like her knowing the Jedi mind trick, which in my opinion, that's like the ultimate form of the Force. That takes years. It took Luke forever. How does it take him forever? And it only took her like literally seconds, and she already masters it. I'm like, that's when I literally like cringe. And also, they had to beat you over the head a million times that Rey's independent. It's like, we get it. She's independent. We saw her take down 2 thugs, like, you know, and she can fly. She can do all this, but then, like, I'm not even really. I know a lot of people's go-to scene is the scene where she's first meets Finn and the stormtroopers are chasing them and they're holding my hand stuff. Okay, I can understand that realistically, because you wouldn't want someone you just met grabbing on your hand. Okay, I can understand that. But the stuff, like the scene with Han when he's trying to give her the blaster, and then she's just like, I can take care of myself. Okay. That was another scene I cringed really hard. Like, why? We get it, she's independent. You don't need to beat our heads. Like, we don't understand. We know she's independent. You don't have to fucking throw out these, like, make us, like, beat us over the head with it. We get it. And then you look at... I'm gonna bring Wonder Woman from BVS into this. She actually comes in as just a beast. She comes in and she's just a badass. There's no forced, oh, I'm an independent woman. And that's why I feel like Wonder Woman is done better in this. And it's just like, we get it. She has the Force, but come on. You don't need to do that every scene. Yeah, it's just annoyed me when they did that. Yeah, it really did. It's just like, you don't... I still feel like Daisy really did good with what she had. And then the whole fight scene with Kylo was just... I really didn't like that Kylo Ren lost the fight. That's just my humble opinion. I don't feel like he should have. Now that brings me on to Kylo Ren himself. He was cool in the beginning. The first, like, hour, 30 minutes to an hour, he was cool. Like, when he stopped the blaster bolt with the Force, that was some, like, next level shit right there. I've never seen any Force user do that. He can read people's minds with the Force. I've never seen anyone do that either. He can freeze people in place with the Force. He can do all this shit. But he cannot beat someone who's, from what we know, hasn't been trained. And I know there's a lot of fan theories out there that she's Luke's daughter and all this shit, and that she had prior training, but we don't know that. And even if she has, I still wouldn't believe she's able to beat Kylo Ren, who's been training nonstop. He was trained by Luke and Snoke. I mean, okay, on a side note, I would have not put Snoke in this movie. Because remember, like, you look at Empire and New Hope, Vader looked like the big dog. There is no Emperor yet. I think they mention him, but they really never show him until Empire. I would have preferred if they just did that, to be honest. Keep Snoke out of the movie, because it just seemed like he was there for no reason. It's just, he didn't really add anything to the movie, just some dialogue about, like, Kylo, I need to continue Kylo Ren's training, that's it. You could have kept him out of this movie. Maybe bring him in the next one. Make it seem like Kylo Ren's in charge. But now back to Kylo, it's just, he unmasked way too soon. And then, the reveal he was Han's son, that also was revealed too soon. the Han reveal could have been later, in a later movie. Maybe I would have made it seem like Kylo Ren was the one that killed Ben Solo. That would have worked better. Because then you wouldn't, it would, and then when you find out Ben Solo is Kylo later, that would have been a bigger reveal. But no, they just, like, 30 minutes in, oh, you gotta get your dad. And it's like, wait, you already revealed, really? Like, they jumped the shark with that. It's like, that's something they should have kept, you know, secret for a while. And also unmasking, too. He should have not unmasked in this film. It was way too soon he unmasked. It's like, he should have unmasked later down the line, I think. Because when he unmasked, he looked like a total joke. That's when he lost all cool points. Like, he should have, I would have shaved his head. I would have shaved his head. I would have given him, like, a beard or something, make him look menacing. Because he looked like a fucking joke when he unmasked. And then him losing the fight was just, my opinion, he should have won the fight. What I would have done, I would have had, like, Kylo easily takes out Finn. Even if Finn's a trained melee, that's why he knows how to use a lightsaber, because, like, he's trained with melee weapons. Okay, Kylo Ren should easily kick his ass. He's a major Sith. Kylo Ren is not, maybe he's not the best with a lightsaber, but he should be able to easily take out Finn. And then maybe him and Rey go at it, but Kylo Ren is just better than her. And then I would have done it in two ways. Either A, she just runs away. Maybe Kylo Ren just kicks her ass so much, she realizes, okay, I don't think I can beat him, so she just runs away. Or, what I personally would have done, or the one I personally think this sounds better, I would have just had Kylo Ren, like easily. He knocks the lightsaber out of her hand, he looks like he has an opportunity to kill her, and then he decides not to do it and walks away. So he lets her live. That would have been so much better. And then she gets the training from Luke, and it would have made sense. I feel like in this instance, it makes no fucking sense. Because as now I look at this, I'm like, why does she need training from Luke? She already beat Kylo. She already knows the Force. She already knows the Jedi mind trick. Does really she need to train with Luke at this point? No, and it's like, you make Kylo Ren a joke of a villain now. And I know some people will say he got shot in the side of the bowcaster. Even, I still don't think that scene should have even happened at all. He stood, in my opinion, should not have been shot. Like, and it's like, and some people are in, like, he may come back stronger, but now it's just like he looks irrelevant now. You know? And it's like, how can he be taken seriously again if he cannot beat some slave girl? Some scrapper girl who, from what we know, has never had any training. And apparently it's been said that Kylo Ren killed Luke's other students that Luke was training. Because he was going to start like a new Jedi Order or something. I'm like, if Kylo Ren can kill Jedi trainees, or probably most likely Padawan, how can he kill all of them? But he cannot beat Rey. That makes no sense, and it's just, will never make any sense when a guy who can stop a blaster bolt gets beat by someone who's never been trained. I'm sorry, I know I've gone on to that point a little too long. It's just really made no sense to me. Hux should have been older. He didn't look intimidating at all. In the scene with, like, where this big Nazi-like rally, I would have preferred, if Hux had been older and had a more intimidating voice, it would have worked. But he looks so like a goober. And, and I'm just saying, that's really all I gotta say. There's probably more criticisms I have, I just can't think of them at the moment. I still enjoyed the movie for what it was, and I'm still gonna see the others. It's just, I would have liked a different movie. I would have preferred an original story. That's just my humble opinion. I would have preferred an original story. But, yeah, guys, I'll do some more videos later this week. I just kind of wanted to get this video out. So, other than that, guys, I'll see you guys later. I'm going to sign off. Peace.